College football 12-team playoff on life support, according to West Virginia University's president, Gordon Gee, who was at Ohio State. Apparently, comments made to the student newspaper who was doing an interview with him, and it concerns the stability of college football, actually the instability of college football at this time. What do you make of all this, and do you think the 12-team college football playoff is in fact on life support?
Yeah, I think life support is a bit hyperbolic. I think it's more just delayed, I guess is a better way of putting it, because when the SEC put a wrench in everybody's plans by announcing basically 48 minutes after the 12-team playoff stuff came out that Texas and Oklahoma were coming in to their conference in the very near future, now you have to rethink some things, right? Because all of a sudden, if you got a 12-team playoff, it's a possibility that 6 to 8 teams are SEC teams, and you can't have that. You can't have the SEC dominating college football to that degree. You know, when we got the opportunity to talk with the Pac-12, the Big Ten, and the ACC commissioners back when they announced the alliance, they kind of hinted at something similar. They didn't go as crazy as it's on life support, but it's more just we have to rethink some things and we have to make sure it's right. So we'd rather slow things down. So maybe it's not around by 2023 the way maybe some of us thought it would be. Maybe it's more 2025 or 2026, but it's not on. The 12-team playoff is coming. But now that Oklahoma and Texas have done what they've done with the SEC, and now that we have the Big Ten, Pac-12, ACC alliance thing that's coming down this pipeline, as college football is basically changing before our very eyes, people have to rethink things. So I think that was a drastic phrase to use, but the idea that it's going to slow down the process of how quickly we get there, that makes a lot of sense.
Do you think something as simple as you limit the amount of teams that come from any given conference is what the solution is to that? Because otherwise you get conferences getting cannibalized, which basically happened to the Big 12.
No, I just think you have to make it competitive. You have to make it feel like everybody has a fair shot at this. In an ideal world where the top 4 seeds get bye weeks, and then obviously you figure out what 5 through 12 are going to do. But it just has to be competitive, and by limiting how many people you can have in per conference, that kind of puts some shackles on it that shouldn't be there. But it has to be competitive from all sides. It has to feel like the top 15, the top 20 teams in college football have a realistic shot of getting in there, and not just the SEC, where if you have 3 losses in your schedule, but because 3 of those 3 losses are against SEC teams, where it's probably Texas, Alabama, and Georgia or whatnot, you get more of a say into the playoff than, let's say, the Pac-12, whoever finishes second in that conference. So I don't think there needs to be limits, but I do think it needs to be competitive, which is why it was very important for the other conferences to respond to what the SEC did this summer.